Good evening, and this is Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce, or Dr. Nan, or Dr. Nancy, whatever you'd like to call me. And this is Conversations with a Sex Doctor. And tonight I have a rather serious conversation that I'd like to have with you about sexualizing children. And this comes up for me today in particular because of a group that I'm in on Facebook. It's a group of women primarily that were sharing their stories about when they were first sexualized by an adult. And the sad thing is that most of these adults in the experiences that I was reading today, and in my own personal experience and professional experience, were grown men who were sexualizing children starting around the age of 8 to 12 would seem to be the common age. And I think we need to address this straight on. We need to have an honest, open conversation, men and women alike, about what's going on and what's happening with the sexualization of children, young preteens, and what that does to the life of that person. We can talk to boys and girls, men and women who were sexualized at a very young age, and how that shifted them, how sometimes it starts them into being more sexual and promiscuous at an early age, which I don't have a problem with kids owning their sexuality and exploring with people their age. But I think when that is initiated by somebody that's an adult, it can do a lot of damage to a child's sense of safety and sense of security and sense of self. So we need to just have some really open conversations about this. And in light of that, I'd like to just open up conversation tonight around when were you first sexualized as growing up? What was your first experience with knowing or feeling like you were a sexual being, even if it wasn't maybe your own desires, but someone else's desires of you? And I can tell you personally, my brother, who was 9 years older than me, he was 17, I was 8, initiated a sexual assault to me, but a sexual experience with me that wasn't consensual. And so that was my introduction to sexuality. So I'm just curious, those people who are popping in tonight, what's your story? When were you first sexualized, and how old was that person, and how did that impact you? And I'm not looking for the idea that we're damaged, because I don't believe that we are. But it certainly can create a shift in who we are and how we see ourselves, and what is the future for us, and how much do we trust? I know for me that had a big impact on my ability to trust men. Not only that experience, but a sequence of other experiences through my teens and into my early adulthood, just how I was treated by different men. And it just seems like it's a cultural problem that we have, where boys are taught to sexualize and objectify girls. And when we start doing that, we start treating them as less than human and seeing what we can get from them rather than how we can interact with them. So I'm just curious, if you have a story you'd like to share, I would more than welcome. I see some people I know here. If you'd like to share, what was your introduction in this world of human sexuality under the age of 15, perhaps? And if you had anything happen or any experience. And if you'd like to come into the live, I can bring in one person at a time, and you can share your story. Because I think the more we talk about this, especially in mixed company, where we're sharing with men and women what our life experiences are, the better it makes it for all of us to move toward healing and and some kind of resolution in our culture and how we're going to raise the next generation. Because I don't think we can wait until a few more generations. I know I am a fierce protector of my children and my grandchildren, and I'm hoping that by being that fierce protector, I've empowered them to own their sexuality on their own terms and to not feel like they were prey that, a lot of times women are taught to be, and maybe young boys are taught the same thing. I was raised as a girl, so I don't know the enculturation that boys have received. So I'm always open. I love hearing about that. What were the messages you got as a boy growing up about being a boy or a man? What were your messages about women? What were women? How were women to serve you? Were you to serve them? All of those things. So, hi everybody coming in. So tonight we have a little bit of a serious conversation. I've been impacted in the last few days by some of these conversations that I've been involved in other social media groups around sexualizing children. So if you have a story, if you have another question that's completely off the topic, you're more than welcome to ask that. This is the Conversations with a Sex Doctor, so I really want to be able to open it up to things that are on your mind, questions you may have or concerns you may have that you may not know who to ask. Sometimes we have these curiosities about our sexuality and our interpersonal relationships and maybe thoughts we're having or fantasies we're having, and we're not really sure how to process those and how to normalize them. So I'm here to help you. I have no judgment about what you do or who you do it with, or as long as it's legal and consensual. So if you have questions, what was your first experience? Some of the other things that are being discussed in these groups, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. Some of the other things that are being discussed in these groups are around what kind of things have young girls or young boys endured from adults in terms of sexualization. Catcalling is another thing. I think it's just a sex orientation. Children have desires too. Children do have desires and curiosities, but generally not with adults. And so what I'm talking about today is adults that sexualize children, grown adults that sexualize children in a way that isn't natural, and it also isn't healthy, because it does create some confusion around trust and respect and self-respect and humanization and dehumanization, and who you're supposed to be feeling like you can reach out to and lean on. And if an adult is making you feel gross and like you're some kind of an object, when boys catcall, men catcall girls or women, there's nothing flattering about that. It's quite dehumanizing, and it's frightening to many women. And I think we have to realize that so many boys and girls and are now adults who've been traumatized as children and carry those wounds with them. So there are a lot of Instagram pages with children's subject. I hope you report those, like sexual children's subjects on Instagram. Please report those, because there does seem to be a growing trend of people seeking sex with kids. I know in many other countries this is big business. We're seeing sex trafficking. So sex trafficking of children isn't happening because somebody decided they wanted to sell children. Somebody had a buyer for the children and thought, oh, this is a good business. And so who are these buyers? Who's buying sex with kids? And how is this healthy? And we need to have conversations around it and really understand, as you talk to adults who've gone through this and now are on the other side as adults, there's a lot of damage that's done and wounding that has to be healed. So they're not directly sex oriented, but you can guess so. Well, if there's any implication of sexuality in children, I hope you report those, please, because those will only keep going if people are buying and people are looking and people are liking and they're making money on these things. So the only way to stop it is to stop the income generation, and then there's no product to sell. I don't understand the fascination. You know, I'm not a pedophile and I don't really have the pedophilic mindset around sexuality. So I'm always curious about somebody that does have that desire towards children. Like, what is it that you're seeing that other people aren't? And, you know, whether, you know, I as a sexologist, as a doctor of human sexuality, I'm always trying to understand what's underneath it and where it derives from. And I understand a lot of the psychology around it. But it's still, we still have to understand that it's, Nancy, children's sex is not new subject. Of course, I understand it's not a new subject. I'm talking about it from a current perspective. Why are we still tolerating it? Why are we still supporting it? Why are we what is happening that people are wanting to have sex with children? What's happening to those people in their life that makes them want to be sexual with children? And if they understood the dynamic of what that does to a child's sense of safety and security and the dehumanization that it creates, perhaps they could see the other side of it. And so I'd like to have those conversations more openly, rather than spending a lot of time talking about the people that are wanting to have sex with children. Let's talk about the effects that having sex with children or sexualizing children. You know, boys sitting in some of these adolescent games that boys are taught. All right, so we have somebody that's interested in being in the video. I'd like you to tell me if you have something that you want to say. Let me just view the request. Okay, so if you're coming in, you just need to come in and tell your story, and then I'm going to ask you to leave so we can move on. This is only a 30-minute live, okay? So, and I have badges up. If anybody wants to support my work, they can toss a few coins into the badges. Hello? Do you have a story or a question? Hello? Okay. We're going to send them out. How do I do that? Okay. All right. So if you're going to come in and be a creeper, I will report you and block you. So don't do it. I have zero tolerance for that crap. If you have a question or you want to make a statement, you want to tell a story, it is if we're supposed to accept that fact. Right, we're not supposed to accept that fact. I'm not going to accept that fact. So that's why we need to talk about it, and we need to have people share stories that have had those experiences, so that the world can understand this from a cause and effect. And I know perhaps the people that are still doing this and teaching it, and patriarchy, and we can go through all of that, misogyny, teaching men and boys that girls don't really count and they're there for the taking. A lot of cultures around the world still believe this. But if we're teaching that, we need to understand what the result is. And right now, it's what's the grown women and the grown men that have been sexualized at an early age by adults, what that has done to their lives and how they carry that with them and how it impacts them. And that's what I'm more curious about. I'll let somebody else deal with the pedophiles and learn about that. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could talk about, but I'm more interested in people's stories And when you first felt like somebody was looking at you sexually that wasn't in your age group. So I know I mean, it was almost like every male in my life, my dad, my uncle, my brother. So when I was a kid, I have feelings from age 6. I think anyone is the same. So were you attracted to grown-ups to have sex with them at age 6? I'm not sure you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about normal childhood sexuality and normal childhood curiosity about their body, about sensation, and their curiosity about each other as children. I think you're missing the point about how the adults treating the children as sexual, how that changes them. Okay, so why do you keep bringing up that? I mean, I understand normal childhood sexuality. I'm fully aware of that. I'm talking about adult sexuality that's impacting children. So that's the twist. I hope that makes sense. So I know these serious topics are a little bit more challenging. They're not as sexy as some of the other topics that we can talk about as a sex doctor. But this one just felt like it was really important to me. Abuse has a meaning. It is not based of the age. Okay. Not really sure where you're going with that. So, okay. So next topic is, we'll take the next 10 minutes to talk about what is it in your life that has impacted you the most in your sex education? Like, when do you remember any kind of sex education, formal sex education? Did you have sex education in school? Do you have a parent, a teacher, or somebody that really sat down with you and explained your body and explained normal function, explained curiosities? Or what did you get educated from your friends? I know my girlfriends were a big part of my education when I was in junior high and high school. We shared a lot of book ideas and, how to do this and how to do that, because my mom certainly wasn't somebody that was going to talk to me about it. So where did you get your sex education? And do you feel like your sexuality and your curiosity about sex has always been vibrant and healthy and fun and kind of enlivening? Or has it felt like a burden to you, or shameful? There's a lot of shame that's also taught around our sexuality. So we can talk about those things as well. UNICEF about children's sex education. 2030. So I'll look that up. That sounds like an interesting project. I know in Europe has some amazing childhood sexuality and sex education curriculums that starts in preschool, and it's age appropriate, and it's very fun, and it's very natural, and it really raises healthy adults into their full sexual capabilities and sex life that's healthy and fun. So to be educated in every country, that would be awesome. That truly would be awesome, because in the U.S. we have a really shoddy sex education system. It's every state, every school is different, and there's really no formal curriculum that is universally agreed upon. Ever since the Bush era, where we had the abstinence only sex education, that was sad. We know that doesn't work. A lot of teen pregnancies went through the roof. So we're trying to turn that around, which is, it's actually, we're doing better with teen pregnancy. So, okay. So a couple more minutes. So if you have questions, I'm doing this show, the badges are there for, it's like a 99-cent tip. If you believe in my work and you have you want to support it, you can either support me on Patreon, or you can do the badges during my live shows, which is every other Wednesday live here. That's Conversations with a Sex Doctor, or every Thursday with Karen Lee from 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we talk about everything, and it gets a little bit sillier. This one tends to be a little more serious. So let's see. My last topic was your interest. I have read a lot of articles. Why did you change the subject? Because I'm getting ready to tie up. It's only a 30-minute show, so I wanted to open it up for other conversation. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. Maybe. I might have to do it a little earlier in 2 weeks, because I think that's high school graduation in my area. And so I'll look into or some, actually have an event. So I'm going to put it out there a little bit earlier on the 26th, which is 2 weeks. And we'll do this a little bit earlier. If you have a topic that you would like me to talk about, you would like more information about, you have a question or a comment or a concern, please just DM me, or you can email me at drnancy@drnsp.com, and send me your questions, your comments, and I'll put them into the show. If you send them to me, I will make sure I answer those at the top of the show. And all of these are recorded, and I put them up on my YouTube channel, which is the Sex Host Doctor. So you can find all of my conversations with the sex doctor, as well as Wild Women with Wine, up on the YouTube. Again, it's the Sex Host Doctor, or Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce. And yes, still connected with Karen Lee and Nina Hartley and all kinds of other beautiful, powerful women in the world. So I hope you make this a great day. And again, the badges that Karen and I have available on our live Instagrams, that's like a little tip, 99 cents. So if you like what we're talking about, you want to support the work, that's the only way we get supported from these. It always feels good to have people vote with their dollars to keep us going on these lives, because this is an hour or half an hour that I can't be doing other things and seeing clients. So I have a client here in about 15 minutes. So I hope you have a great evening. We're coming up on summer, which is my favorite time of year. And so wear your sunscreen, go out there and get your vitamin D, and take good care of yourself. Please get vaccinated. If you haven't been, in the US, it's available. Get your vaccines. It's the only way we're going to get enough herd immunity where we really can feel free again. Otherwise, it could take years. So I've had my vaccine. My whole family's been vaccinated, and none of us grew a horn or, had any issue with it. Little sore arm, maybe you feel a little achy for a day, which you go, okay, good, my immune system's working. I like that. And then now we feel like we have some freedom. I have my exotic lifestyle retreat going to Jamaica at the end of June, the last week of June. We still have some rooms available. So singles, couples, it's an incredibly empowering experience, a whole week in the Caribbean, sun, fun, wildly crazy fun, and some really deep work that we do, and excursions, and it's got a little bit of everything. So something for everybody. It's, you just have to be an adult to go. No kids are allowed, and you have to have an open mind and be willing to be non-judgmental, because everybody there flies their own freak flag. So I hope you have a great evening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming in. And there's a lot of videos about family taboo in Pornhub or X. Okay. Thank you for sharing. All right. So until next time, be kind to each other. We could spread a little more kindness in the world. I think that would be awesome. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Or actually, I'll see you tomorrow night with Karen Lee right here at 5 p.m. All right. Bye-bye.